Welcome to The Family Business, a podcast about football and life from the perspective of a coach and his daughter. I'm Stephanie Turner, and I'm here with my dad, Norv Turner. Our guest today is one of the best stories in the NFL. He went undrafted, worked his way onto a roster through special teams, and turned that opportunity into one of the most consistent wide receiver careers of the last decade. Fresh off a playoff appearance with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Adam Thielen, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's this will be fun, just going down memory lane a little bit.
Yeah, and congratulations on your retirement. What a great career, and as we said, a really amazing story, and one of our favorite stories. And I know a player that my dad, thinks of very fondly, and the time together very fondly.
We're gonna talk a little bit about everything, football and all the stuff. But my biggest question would be, how many golf tournaments are you going to play in this off season? I know you play in the Tahoe, the American, or whatever that's called, and I've seen you down in a couple of those Florida Pro-Am type things. What do you got planned in the golf world?
Yeah, I'm excited. Next week, I already start my second career in the celebrity golf tournaments. But so I got one next week in Florida, and then hopefully get invited back to the American Century Championship, because that's just such a great week in Tahoe. And now that I'm actually retired and can focus some of that time on golf, hopefully I'll have a little bit better finishes out there. But I've hung in there a little bit the last couple of years, but can't finish with those guys that are playing every day. And retired golf is a little bit easier to kind of play and compete in those golf tournaments.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll perfect your game now. You have more time to dedicate to it, right?
Yeah, and just there's football took so much of my attention and focus and time, especially with a young family, like trying to balance the two. So didn't get to spend a whole lot of time on the golf course, prepping for those tournaments. It was more so just try to grind it out and figure it out once I get there, and just rely on just the competitive spirit and some of just the past, playing golf since I was little. But yeah, it'll be nice to be able to actually prepare and practice, and not necessarily will that mean I'm going to play better, because golf's a crazy game, but right. I'm excited to kind of spend some of that focus that I have on football on golf, especially when my kids are in school and I have a little bit of time.
Yeah.
The key is you got to make sure you got your golf clubs in the trunk. So when you drop the kids off at school, it's just the normal path moving right through to the golf course, and then you're in good shape. And there's a bunch of beautiful golf courses there in Minneapolis, that's for sure.
The problem is it's -6 degrees right now, so there's no golf course.
You got a few months.
Indoor golf.
Yeah, you got a few months before you can do that. So I guess before we get into sort of how we know you, maybe we should touch on, since you just, almost a little over a week ago, you were playing in a game, but what did you think of the games this past weekend?
Yeah, obviously there's some great games. It's always fun to watch playoff football, because all the things that your coaches have talked about since you were little, especially in the NFL, is like I look back to every team meeting I've had, and it's like all the things that you talk about, from OTAs to training camp all the way. It's like those things show up in playoff games, and they show up in every game, but like they really show up in playoff games. I mean, you look at the turnovers, and you look at the good defense. I mean, that Houston New England game, those defenses were just flying around, hitting, physical, causing turnovers. And it's like, that's how you win football games, playoff games. And that's how you lose them, by having 4 turnovers in the first half for Houston. So it's fun to see all those things show up. And I love watching football. It's a little bit different now, because before it's like I got to watch it and then I got to go play it. Now I don't get to play anymore. So that'll be a little different. And probably this last weekend, I'm like thinking the whole time, like, man, I know I can still do this. And it makes it tough to retire when you know that you can still do it. But at the same time, I don't have the stress of performance and just getting injured. That's probably been the hardest part as I've gotten older, is you start to think about your kids and playing with your kids. And it's like just trying to avoid injuries, and it definitely is a less stressful not having to worry about that anymore.
Well, there's something about knowing how to play. The play that jumps out at me, you guys, I think it was in the third quarter. I'm not sure, but they put you in motion behind the single receiver, and it's a route we've been running for about 30 years. But they put the split receiver to the back corner and ran you out of the motion up the field about fourth inside foot, and
what was that, 77 high?
And you ran out of it, and that was the 77 combination. Obviously, is what we called it. But you ran a flattened down corner route, and Aaron threw it perfect. You went up and got it. It looked like the Adam Thielen I started with when you were about 24 years old. It was a hell of a route, and I said that I think in that situation, I would have put you in motion four or five more times, let you run a dig route out of that, let you run a just push up, a 9-stop out of that. They really didn't have an answer for handling that. And I don't think you guys really came back to that movement, to that set, but that was a nice looking play.
I think that's what makes it tough for me is it's like you make a play like that, you do it, and then it's like, late in your career, they kind of just don't use you the same way that they did back in the day. And so then, you come off the field and it's like, no, I'm in the game now. Like I got the adrenaline, I got the flow, like, let's go. And I think that's a big reason, again, why I'm hanging it up, just because like it's tough for that competitor and you just to not be on the field, and to, when you can still do it, to not be out there and just playing and making those plays and using a play like that to gain momentum and gain that adrenaline, and you kind of get in that flow state as an athlete that a lot of like sports psychologists talk about. And again, that's just tough to, when you can still do it, to not kind of just continue to do that. Like you said, like I feel like we could have done a lot out of that, off of that. And that play is actually crazy. It was two plays. And the first play was a little bit different. It was more for zone. And then that play was for man, and Aaron checked it, and it was actually zone, but it ended up being quarters, so played out like man. So it worked out really well. But when he came to, I was like, I don't think this is man, but I love it.
Yeah, well, me, I mean, when you get to run a route, and I think one of the mistakes that's happening now is everyone wants the perfect play against the perfect coverage, and there's a lot of routes, which is the one we're talking about. It's good against any coverage, and just read it out. And there's somewhere to go with the ball if you get covered. But off the movement with the release there, I'm not sure which coverage would take that route away. That's why we used to run it and run it a lot, But sometimes I think people just, they want to be so perfect with every call. And I grew up in a system where the quarterback made the decisions based on after the snap and got through a progression. And, there is somewhere to go with the ball against most coverages.
Yeah. And then we just, again, the games this past weekend, that Rams and Bears game, which obviously I was actually thinking the game would be over by that time. We planned and booked an escape room with my kids and their aunt and uncle. So we're entering the escape room, and we have our YouTube TV, watching the game because it's in overtime now. And we're like, are you kidding me? We have to go in this escape room and turn off our phones and not be able to watch overtime of the game. But that was Solomon here in the studio with us. We were just talking about that Caleb Williams 4th down throw and just how unbelievable. It's like, those are the throws that you want the quarterback to make in all of those sort of desperate situations. And you pray, like, please just make this a complete pass. And most of the time it doesn't happen. Right. And the fact that the receiver got open and, it was just one of those incredible moments. And obviously they couldn't get the win, but what was your reaction to watching that?
Yeah, I think the cool thing was you kind of saw that from Caleb all year, just like not necessarily like prototypical, sit in the pocket, go through your reads. It's like, I mean, we played him twice when I was with the Vikings, and his ability to just escape the pocket, but also sit in the pocket and make throws when he needed to. But I don't think guys realize when they're watching tape and defense game planning for him, the coaches, like how athletic he is and how fast. And I remember the first game we have Blake Cashman, super athletic linebacker for us with the Vikings. He actually was chasing him down and tore his hamstring, and he's like really fast, especially for a linebacker. And he's trying to chase this guy and tears his hamstring because like he's just fast. He's not fast for a quarterback. He's just an athlete, a really fast athlete. And so it's fun watching him all year just make special plays, and not only that in that moment to do it with his arm talent and to just kind of be running backwards, where a lot of quarterbacks, they get in that position and they throw it up and usually it's a pick because you can't get any really mustard on the ball there, right? Like you can't throw it very far when you're running backwards. For him to throw it that far, and then the receiver, the tight end there, to kind of like, at first on live TV, it looked like he pushed off. And then you see the replay, like, no, he did a great job. He like boxed him out and actually just separated without pushing off. So, that's an easy one sometimes as a receiver. Ball is taking forever. You see it in the air, and natural tendency is to push off. Mm-hmm. He didn't do that. So that was a pretty cool play. And obviously I probably wasn't necessarily cheering for the Bears at that moment, just
right.
the NFC North, battles over the years, but it was a fun game. And that's what you want in playoff football, come down to overtime and have to play good football to win.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about, your early career and you guys meeting at the Vikings. And I think it was your second year. You'd been on the practice squad your first year, right?
Yeah. So first year was on practice squad, and then, all the coaches got fired. Coach Frazier, who really gave me my opportunity, going to rookie camp, and him believing in me after just seeing me for a couple of days and having to cut somebody that they just signed and paid a signing bonus to, and having to cut him after 3 days to sign me, obviously owe a lot to Coach Frazier. But then they get all fired. Coach Jim comes in, Coach Turner comes in, and I remember trying to learn the number system. It was my first ever in my football life learning the number system. No idea, never heard of it, had no idea. And I'm like, oh boy, this is different. And took me a long time to really like understand it. But what I tell a lot of people, because I've been in a lot of different systems over my years, I think I had in my 13 years, I want to say I had like 11 offense coordinators. And so a lot of different systems. And I tell everybody, like, the number system is what I kind of, I spoke in that language the rest of my career. Whether it was, some people call it a lightning route, we call it a 9-stop. Yeah. And I always said 9-stop. So like if somebody asked me, like, we're running to the line of scrimmage, like, what do we got? What do I got? It's like, I'd say 9-stop. And they even if they weren't in the number system, they knew what a 9-stop was, like stop at 9 yards. Pretty
it makes
easy.
Sense. Yeah, it
makes sense. And I feel like, again, like learning it for the first time, I was like, this is crazy. But then after I learned it, it made so much sense to me, and was really cool. And I still talk about, 086 FMET, there's so many play calls that just like have been locked into my brain from those years, and a lot of great memories with Coach.
Yeah. Well, a little history here, Coach Coryell and his staff at San Diego State put this system together. And he had coaches like Joe Gibbs that worked for him there. He had John Madden worked for him there. He had quite a group, but they live with junior college transfers. So they need to put a system together that was easy to learn, because a guy would come in the spring and then be expected to play. You only get 2 years as a JC transfer. So the 3-digit system, it's a 3-digit system where you tell the fullback and the tailback. So it's it's all in the call. You call it protection and go through that. And that system was put together that way because they had to learn it fast. And if you knew where to line up and you knew which digit you got, and then obviously you had to know the routes, which that part's easy. You could go play pretty quick. The hardest thing, and you went through it and did a great job doing it, is learning the details of the route, running the routes. It's one thing to know I got a bang 8, or there's one thing to know I have a 9 stop, or I got a 6 route, which is a 18 to 20 yard dig route or in route. But then totally understanding how to run them, and then how to adjust them to coverages. And from your experience with me, from an overview standpoint, that was the things I was most concerned about, and spent so much time chasing you and Stephon Diggs around, because you're both young guys that came in, and you made the mistake in the first meeting of sitting right in the chair right next to me, because I had the projector and the control, and you would sit at the table right next to me, and I would make smart aleck remarks to you after. I'd make coaching points, and you just shake your head. But we did get you to cut off your outside foot if you're going in, and the inside foot. And it sounds funny, but Adam used to get in a hurry. So he'd be haul ass, run up the field, run an 18-yard in route, a 6 route, and then try to cut. He was making a right cut to the right and cut off the right foot. And it was hard. It's hard to, as fast as you were running, it's hard to stay up. And it didn't take you long to understand you can start to break down with that right foot, but you got to plant with your left foot, keep your head and shoulders over, and then come out and run out of the break. But you got to where you ran the routes as good as anyone I've been around. And, I think you got everyone's attention every time you got an opportunity to have success or go make a play. You did. And I think back to in Green Bay, the first year we were there, and in the second half, you made 2 or 3 catches. In Denver, you got a chance to play. I think Diggs got banged up, made a play. And then the game that always jumps out at me, Diggs was hurt, and we're getting ready to play Houston. Vrabel was the defensive coordinator. He might have been the head coach, whatever. But they were a good defense. And Scott Turner came up with the play. We went 3 tight ends and 1 receiver. Now the Rams are doing it, so everyone's talking about 13 personnel. This is 12 years ago. We were going 13 personnel, and we went empty, spread everyone out, and ran. And the defensive coach was yelling to the cornerback, quick game, quick game, quick game, because when you spread them out, usually you got to get the ball out quick. And you ran a slant and go, and that corner jumped that slant so hard. He had the coach yelling, quick game. You sold it as good as you can, and it's a touchdown down the sideline. And that was they were one of the top 3 or 4 defenses, and you end up, I think, had over 100 yards receiving, touchdown, made a bunch of plays. It was a great win. There were some people who, as we're getting ready for that week with Diggs hurt, that had a lot of ideas who should be playing there. And it was clear to Scott and me and Drew Petzing, no, Adam's going to take Diggs' place, and he'll really handle it well. And obviously you did.
I'll never forget that game. 2 things. Scott, I remember coming up to me before the game, and, I'm warming up, and it's really my first real big opportunity to play significant amount of snaps. And I'd been playing quite a bit that year, but not starting, every snap, playing Z. And I remember him coming up before the game, and he was like, hey, it's your chance. You're going to have a big game. And I'm like, in the moment, I'm like, Scott, I know, why, you're making me more nervous, saying that. But in retrospect, it was, it was cool just to give me that confidence like that. You're going to do well. Like this is a big opportunity, but like you're going to be fine. Like go get it. And secondly, I remember the next day my first son was born. So my first 100-yard game.
Wow, that's
first 100-yard game. And next day, I believe we had the bye week the next week, and next day my son was born, Asher. And so I'm in the delivery room and got the ESPN on and getting ready for Monday Night Football, and they're showing highlights of me, and I'm like, this kind of crazy. My son was born, and my highlights are on in the background. First 100-yard game, obviously a lot of emotions of having a son, first kid, first big game, excited about that. So there's a lot of memories from that game. But I'm surprised you remember that, but I do remember very clearly. I believe we went on the ball too. It was 13 personnel. We ran a run play, and then we had like a code word, and we just went right on the ball and snapped it. And that was when the coaches were yelling from the sideline, because I was on their sideline, and they're quick game, because we're on the ball. It's quick. We're in empty. And, they're all thinking that. So pretty cool. Again, that kind of we were talking about earlier, just talking about, being a step ahead of the defensive coordinator. Like that was a moment where it's like, you're getting on the ball quickly. You're trying to make them think quick game, and we run the double move. Didn't have to check to it. It was just a one word or code word, which I always loved. And I think you did it quite a bit. And I know I did it in some other systems, but I just strongly believe in having 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, a small menu of just one word or code word plays that you get on the ball. Everyone knows it for that week. It's not complicated for us. It's complicated for the defense. And I just think that that's something that just gets lost. Again, like you said, I think nowadays trying to get in these perfect plays and having a can or a kill, 2 plays in the huddle. It's like sometimes it's just those one worders, boom, get on the ball. Everyone knows it because it's like we've done it 3-4 times, whether it be a walkthrough or full speed rep, and everyone has confidence in the play because it's like they're not lined up, they're in a base call, and we have these plays that are just code words, and we can get to the ball fast and do it.
Mm-hmm. There's no question. I think that's where it's evolved and it's helped the 3-digit system. I think the 3-digit system, you learn it. It teaches everyone the concepts. As you say, those 3 digits and the names really end up being one concept, and 086, you remember it. That's a call. And then in Carolina, Cam loved to get up and go fast, and the code words, we expanded that, the code words, and you really do limit what the defense does. And some defenses, they're going to jump into a pressure situation. That's their answer. And you love that because the ball is going to come out. You have quick places to throw the ball. We got to where we would go no huddle and then throw a wide receiver screen. DJ Moore, who played so good the other night, was one of the guys down there that gets, you get the ball in their hands quick and they're rolling. The one thing, though, I did read this year during the season that you became a coffee drinker because you had to drink coffee to get through my long meetings when I showed 120 pictures on the wall. We took a little break in between, we'd take a little water break and then go back and put those drawings up. You probably didn't need them, but some of the guys in that room, they had to have them on that many, and they had to, they'd sleep through it a little bit and then wake up and we'd be still covering it. So
I'll never forget. And I tell everyone, because I love coffee. I got to have my coffee in meetings. Like it's my thing. Like I wait specifically till that first team meeting or offense meeting, whatever first, to have my first cup of coffee for the day and get the day started. But I'll never forget like sitting there, and I think it was like 120 slides maybe you had on like a Wednesday install. And I'm like, this is like, I need something like sunflower seeds, something to just keep me aware. And I was the type of person that I always try to teach young guys this. Everyone's different how they prepare, but I was the person that like in those meetings, like when you put that slide up, like I'm envisioning myself run that route. So I'm getting my first rep of the week is in that meeting. envisioning how I'm going to run that route. So it's whatever you put the slide up, I got a 6 route. Like I'm envisioning where I'm lining up, how I'm going to run it, how this defense plays. I've already watched a little tape on the corners. And so like that's my first rep of the week is just that mental rep of how I'm going to run it. And I carry that throughout my whole career of just like I have to do that. And then I go to the walkthrough and it's like, okay, another rep of like, this is how I'm running. Now it didn't feel right. Okay, I'm gonna adjust, and in practice I'm gonna run it this way. And then same thing, like, maybe it was really good. And okay, now it's locked in. Like that's how we're gonna do this in the game. So I'll definitely never forget those meetings. I think Coryell was behind me, maybe, or no, he might have been right in front of me, and he had the tape rolling, and I'm not quite sure if he was awake or not, but he was in the meeting, he's watching tape. So.
The thing that we've done this with a number of players, and the story is pretty consistent. There are obviously the guys that were high draft picks and locked into a position and bang, they're going. But here you are going to a couple workout camps, going to the local camp in Minnesota, getting signed as a practice squad, as you said, with a different staff. Then we all come in with Coach Zimmer and putting in a new offense. And we're getting feedback from people who were there, and basically, if we had 14 receivers, you were like 12th or 11th or 12th on the depth chart as we started, and there were first round draft picks. There was Greg Jennings was there early. Mike Williams we added the second year when Greg left. Cordero Patterson was a first round pick. We drafted a first round pick going into, I think, your third year.
Laquan Treadwell.
Yeah, Treadwell, and it was stacked against you. It was easy. You could have looked at it and said, "Gosh, how am I going to get in on this?" But what you did is what you were talking about: learning the details, knowing what to do. And then getting it when you got opportunities. Every time you get opportunities, you make a play, then you're going to get more opportunities. And then obviously you and Diggs got a chemistry, and I know you were so close. And Diggs was you guys were a great compliment because Diggs, he'd run those zero routes and crossing routes and slot fades. You did the hard work, the in routes, the 7 stops, the pivots over the ball on third down, and made those kinds of plays. So it's a great story of persistence, having confidence in yourself, knowing when you get the opportunity, you're going to make the most of it. But more importantly, I've been around a lot of guys that kind of shut it down. Well, I'll never get a chance. And then when they get the chance, they don't have the kind of success you did. You made sure you were ready when you got the opportunity, and every time you did, you were productive. And that's why you had the type of career you had. It's really an incredible career when you look at it year to year. And as Steph said earlier, just congratulations on a great career, but and on the retirement, because it's quite an accomplishment what you've done.
Yeah, and I flashing back, all the shows we've done, we've had people from past teams, and there have been a few teams in our history, but just talking about the Vikings Minnesota days, you reminded me of the delivery room. I actually was in the delivery room giving birth to my first daughter on game day. And I was, I went into labor, and it was on a Sunday, and you guys were playing the Packers. I think it was like a 1 o'clock. I think it was a late game for you. I think it was a 1 o'clock game here. And I was like, oh, great. I can, just wait to have a baby and watch football. And you guys lost, but that's okay. But I didn't give birth during the game. But just thinking about that time, and I know both my dad and my brother were there on the staff with you, and we would always, I would always hear, or my mom and our family, my brothers, if there was somebody that really stood out, early in training camp or in the season and early in the season. And I remember hearing from both my dad and Scott how excited they were about you as a young player, and just it was always fun for us to hear, like, oh wait, you got it, this guy, he's going to be really good. This guy's going to be those sort of like surprises. And I think you were one of those like really great surprises for them to be able to coach, and you were so fun to watch too. But I'm curious, when did you, because of that sort of journey into the NFL, when did you feel like you belonged? Because I know in every industry, people talk about imposter syndrome. I know, like, I work in TV and film, I'm a director, and sometimes I step onto a set and it's like, oh, I'm the person that's in charge. And, you have that feeling of like, I know I can do this, but you still have to prove yourself a little bit, or does everybody else think I can do this? Or just kind of curious if you could speak to that at all, of like, did it change for you at some point where you knew that you were meant to be there?
I think it's kind of interesting because I look back on it, and I'm actually like more nervous looking back on it than I was in the moment. And I say that to say, I think I had a delusional confidence in my game. I think it goes back to when I was a kid. Like, I was just so competitive that I didn't care how big, fast, strong the person across from me was. Like, I was going to win. And whether that was golf, baseball, basketball, football, it didn't matter. Like, I was going to find a way to win. And so I think I took that into the NFL, and I just had so much confidence in what I could do on the football field. For me, it was just battling and fighting to get opportunity. And I knew that once I got that opportunity, like, I was going to go get it, because I've done it my whole life. Like, I've been a receiver my whole life. I've caught the football my whole life. I've created separation no matter who I went against. But I would say that there was definitely a moment when my first year, when I was on practice squad, going against the starters every single day, that I was like, oh, like, if I can do this against these guys who are playing every Sunday, and I'm having success, even though it's during the week, it's a Wednesday practice, whatever, like, I treated that like my game day. And so the more that I won and created separation and caught the football and had success Wednesday, Thursday, Friday against those starters, it just gave me confidence. And I was like, at that point, then I was starting to get frustrated, because I'm like, wait a second, I'm doing it against these guys every day that are playing on Sundays, but I'm not allowed to play, and I got to sit here, and I don't even get to go on the sideline and watch the sideline. I got to go sit in the booth or in the suite, and really not. They don't really care if you go. Like, some organizations are different, some coaches are different, but like, I remember my first year, like, I didn't even feel a part of the team on Sundays, because like, they didn't really care if I went to the game, and I did because I loved it. But I had to sit in the suite, couldn't go in the locker room. Like, you just felt different from the game, or different from the team. So I felt a little bit of frustration, because again, I had that delusional confidence of like, man, like, I should be out there playing.
Right.
And unfortunately had to have that view against y'all when you guys were in Cleveland, and you guys ran the fake field goal and beat us in the Metrodome. But I was up in the street watching. But yeah, definitely kind of carried that delusional confidence, and then had confidence from just doing it.
Yeah, there's something. I mean, you see it. So many of these offenses now, it's not based on route running as much as it is scheme, and as we said earlier, getting to the right play. It's a little bit becoming a little bit of a lost art, being a really detailed, good route runner, which you're one of the top route runners over the last number of years, and it's not anything against what's happening. It's way things have evolved because of coverages, but there's a skill, as you know, as you've heard me say it 1,000 times when we're together, getting in the right stance, getting the weight on that front foot, beating the ball off. That ball moves, you move, full striding, getting up the field, because DBs really don't know how fast you are. They feel it in terms of your body movement and how you're moving. And then if you're fast and you have great body movement, and it's the same your stride, your arms pumping, where your head is. It's the same in that first 10 yards all the time coming off the ball. It gives you a real advantage against the DBs. And you're one of the best at that. I see some guys doing it, but a lot of the stuff now, the RPOs, the quick screens, we had Michael Irvin on. He said, during my whole career, I never caught a ball behind the line of scrimmage, which people didn't throw the wide receiver screens a lot. There were certain teams that did, but not the teams I was around for quite a while. But there is a real skill, and I know that coaching is demanding time-wise, and a lot of guys, when they retire, that's not what they want to do. But you'd be great in the off season, taking a group of guys and teaching them to run routes, because it's a specific skill, and people think it just happens. No, it's you got to put the time in, and you got to understand what's involved in running each route and how to do it.
It's something that I really honestly, just as you kind of talking about that, it's like something that I absolutely love to talk about with young guys. Because it has become a little bit of a lost art, I think. I think as receiver coaches, they try to talk about those things, but sometimes the systems don't really detail route running. They just expect you to get open from scheme, or just expect you to kind of understand, like, if you get press coverage, like, use your leverage, like it's just not a lot. There's not a lot of detail, and that's something that I'm forever grateful from you. Is that was everything, and I'll never forget, like, OTAs, like, you're sitting there right behind us in the receiver line when we're running those 6 routes, and like, you were adamant about coming off the wall. In fact, I think you would play back the film in OTAs of just routes on air. This is just routes on air. I think you'd play back the film and see who won between the 2 receiver lines, who was fastest to 10 yards. Because like you said, like, weight on the front foot, coming off the football, blazing off the ball. And another coach I had did a very similar thing, Frank Wright, and he loved doing the same thing. Like, who won to 5 yards, who won to 10 yards? Like, you run the same routes and you're starting the same yard line. Like, who's coming off the ball? And I think that was something I always took with me, is like, every route I ran full speed. And it kind of drives me nuts. Sometimes these coaches nowadays will teach, like, oh, like, don't run full speed. Like, just act like you're running full speed. It's like, well, no, the DBs can feel that. Like, when Mike Wallace, I mean, you remember Mike Wallace, like, he would come off the ball so fast, the DB would be 40 yards deep, and he would run a hinge route, hinge 5, and he wouldn't run a great route at the top of the route, but it didn't matter. You'd get open because they felt the speed. Like, he was running full speed, and he couldn't get out of it great because he was so fast, but it didn't matter because he put that speed on. He would have gone 80% speed. Like, the DB would have felt it. And if he's not clean at the top of the route, he's not getting open.
Yeah.
And so I would always try to talk to young guys about that. Like, man, like, just come, if you're going to do anything, come off the rock, like, flying. And like, you can figure it out from there. Like, you can get better at the top of your route. You can get better at the slam foot. Like, I call it the reach step. Like, you got at the top of your route, like, you can take a full stride and slam down, and they feel like you're still running, but you're actually stopping. And a lot of times they're teaching nowadays to kind of boom, 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 like get your foot underneath you. It's like, well, as soon as you don't take that full stride, the DB feels that. So those things, like, I took from you, and I love talking about, and like you said, like, I'm not gonna coach full time, but I love teaching those things and being around guys that love football. I mean, Justin Jefferson, like, for example, I mean, when he first came in, like, he was all ears, and just seeing him, he was already really good at it. He had great coaching at LSU, and had a legendary receivers coach there. I forget, Jerry Sullivan.
Yeah, Jerry Sullivan. Yeah.
And so he learned a lot of great things from him. But just being able to kind of talk about those things, and when guys buy into it and trust it and work hard, like, they have, they're already talented, and then when they buy in and do the little things, like, man, it's amazing what can happen. So I really enjoyed that part of the game.
It's a great part, and that's why, sometimes I look and say, oh, they got so many coaches now. They got 2 coaches per position and all that. But That's why individual position coaches are so important. I know Warren Sapp talked to a group that I was at, and we were doing some stuff with young kids, and he described it, and it's so cool the way he described it. He goes, "There's a game going on within the big game," and he was a three technique as a defensive tackle. You're a wide receiver. Your skill set is different than the skill set he needed, but you have to learn that skill set, and you have to get great at it. So if you're a defensive end, if you're a tight end, each position just has different things they have to learn, both physically and mentally. And people lose sight of that because it's a big game and everything's going on. But you win and lose with the details of everybody understanding their game, the game they have to win, and playing at a high level.
Mm-hmm. Do you so you have boys?
Yeah, 2 boys and a girl.
Do your boys want to play football?
Yeah, they're right now they're obsessed with football. My oldest has always been into it. Like he's the one obviously that I was talking about earlier that was born the day after that big game. And so since he was a week old, or that maybe 2 weeks old because we had a bye week, he's been coming to games. And so he loves football. My middle, Hudson, he sleeps with a football every single night and brings the football to school every day. So he's obsessed. He's a big Steelers fan right now because that was most recent memory for him.
Right.
So every day he's wearing the Steelers get up. But yeah, no, they love football. Been able to coach them in flag football in the spring,
nice.
The last couple off seasons. So that's been so fun, and seeing them develop as athletes. They're super competitive. Their mom is probably more competitive than me. She played soccer at Iowa State and was a really good soccer player since she was little. So they got some competitive genes in them, but it's been so fun to see them. And honestly, what I'm most excited about post career is just seeing them find what they love, and then really just trying to help them in any way I can with whatever kind of passion they have in anything that they do. So really excited about that. And they're in a basketball right now and doing all the sports, which me growing up, that's all I did. I've played 4 sports all the way through high school, and big believer in multi-sport athletes and what that can do, for your future when you really have to hone into one. And so it's fun to see them play different sports too, and just have to learn different skills and have to kind of grind in each season to get better, because maybe they're a little bit behind because they are playing multiple sports, which I think is good.
Right.
Because they see these other kids that maybe are a little bit better skill wise, and they have to find a way to get better quickly. And if they want to, they can go and practice extra and do those things to get that. So I think it teaches them that they have to work for what they get, and they have to work hard to be able to be as good or better than others.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because I have young kids too, and playing different things. And I think there is this, like when we were kids and my dad, like always, you played the sport that was the season. But now it's kind of turned into this like year round, like, oh, if someone's a soccer player, they're in these like year round leagues. And I feel like the downside of that is kids are kind of forced to choose early. What's the thing you want to try to excel at? And I know for my kids, like I like them to be able to try them all. And then I guess as parents, we have to decide like, okay, if they are wanting to be really competitive in something, like, do you make them sort of pick a path as they get older? Or I don't know. What do you think you're going to do with yours?
Yeah, I think we've tried to like prioritize seasons. So if we do flag football and baseball in the spring, like the baseball takes priority. So if there's something on the same night, like we're going to skip flag football and we're going to go to baseball, and vice versa in the fall. That's football season, and if you want to play baseball, you can. But it's if you're going to miss baseball for football, and so I think it's created kind of like you said, just having like different seasons of priority. And like you said, as they get older, like it gets more travel ball and things where you're not able to do multiple, but in the same season. But I think that is one good thing of being, in Minnesota rather than maybe down south where you can play everything all year round, where
Right.
Minnesota kind of forces you to have seasons.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's all such a bad thing. You might not get that outdoor time that you do down south. That we were in Carolina for 2 years, and Asher was able to play a lot of baseball because you can play baseball year round, and the fields are open, and you don't get that luxury to be outside here, so you might not advance as much each year, but I think it is good. You're just learning different skills, and those skills will help you. And if you love baseball, and I tell my oldest this, so right now it's like, he probably likes football and baseball more than he likes basketball. But I'm like, if you love basketball, or if you love football, basketball season is going to help you in football. There's so many things that I've done over my career that I look back and like, if I didn't play basketball at a high level all the way through high school, I wouldn't be able to do these things I'm doing on the football field. And I really use a lot of like body control and positioning and angles and all these things that I learned from basketball, not from playing football. I learned it from basketball, and I learned it. I used it a lot in my NFL career. So that's kind of what I try to preach to my kids of even if you're not as in love with basketball as football, basketball is going to help you in football. So I think he's starting to realize that now.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun. I know the kids' games are competitive and stressful, and even my 6-year-old's basketball games, I'm like, okay, I gotta take a deep breath, calm down. You're sitting in the stands, like, oh my god, just get the ball, like.
I know. It's hard for my wife
fun.
and I because we played high level sports, and you want to be like, just go get it, like just
Right.
be aggressive, but I think it's good sometimes to just let them learn, and you can talk about it if they want to talk about it, but you don't want to be that parent either that's pushing it too hard,
right?
Because
the insane parent, yeah.
Oh yeah.
And you got to have, as a grandparent, particularly the soccer and the outdoor games, you got to have a nice folding chair to sit and watch those hour-long soccer games. It gets Scott in Vegas. Both his kids were playing soccer, and we'd get those chairs and sit out there, and it'd start getting about 90 degrees. And we're saying, how long is
this game?
How long can this game go?
All right. So we've got some big games coming up this weekend. Quickly, what are you excited about watching these games?
Yeah, I think just good football. It's like at this point, I'm not cheering for anyone. It's like you just want to see good football, and you want to see those things that we talked about earlier, like that every coach always talks about, like taking care of the football. Being complementary in special teams, offense, defense, and also what I love to watch is like the offenses that I love to see is the ones that can run the ball, that can run play action, that can run keepers. Like that's good football to me. And it's hard to do. I get it. Like I've never called plays as much as I think I could. Like, I know I can, but it's like everyone thinks they can call plays, right? It's easy when you watch the play back. You're like, well, why did they just throw it, to the guy down the middle?
Right.
I just love seeing like really good organized football, like run the ball, play action. Like maybe you're starting on first down and you run keepers, like just an easy completion in the flat, or you're taking your shot sometimes that way, like in a keeper game, and you get the edge and you can take a shot. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Obviously, there's going to be good defense, and that those defenses right now are just playing at a high level, and is what helped those teams get to where they are. But it's fun to just look at it, especially the longer you play. And like I said earlier, like how many different systems I played in, that you kind of get this like feel of like, man, I love this about this system. I love this about this system. And you just want to see like it all kind of work together. And the guys that can do that as offensive coordinators, you see them having a lot of success.
Yeah. The interesting thing about the Patriots and the Broncos is, if anyone do it, I guess Sean Payton can, but they're with Bo Nix getting hurt, and and now they're going with a guy that hasn't started a game in 3 years or 4 years or whatever it is. He started 5 games. It'll be interesting to see how both teams react to that, because I know the Patriots aren't afraid to pressure you on defense. That could be an answer for them. And obviously that it could affect their offense in terms of being patient and you can't think it's going to be a high scoring game with those changes. But I would, I think the game the other night, the Patriots, may had a couple of really tough plays, turnovers that can end up costing you a game. As we saw, Buffalo had 4 turnovers and did. So I'm sure that's something that the Patriots are really stressing and working on, and protecting the ball and being smart in all the different situations. The one thing that, I agree with everything you said about seeing a game played right, played well. The one thing I hope for, and it's just too bad, I don't want the officials to control the game or to determine the outcome, and that's obviously what happened. And they can deny it or what, but we all watch it on TV. You see it. There's calls that weren't consistent. I think back, if they call the play the other way, Buffalo coach probably isn't fired. He's probably getting ready for a game. I know the plays that I think back, and you kind of still wake up in the middle of the night. The plays that cost you a game, that cost you a chance to advance in the playoffs, or cost you a chance to get into the playoffs, and you get that letter on Tuesday, and they say, well, that call was wrong. You should have had a first down, or that call was wrong. That should have been an interception. You should have had the ball on the 20-yard line. Well, you can't. It doesn't matter. You can't go back and relive that or run that. You lost the game, and and when it's a fourth quarter call, like a couple of the ones where the ball ends up on the 5-yard line and they're going to kick an easy field goal. That's hard to live with as a coach, and you'd like to just, officiating's hard. You'd just like to see them continue to improve the officiating and do everything they can to eliminate those type of plays.
Yeah, I got in a little bit of trouble earlier in the season calling out the refs, and and it still doesn't make sense to me to not have full-time refs in the NFL. Like, there's just too much money in the game with gambling and all that, and really that doesn't affect me. The part that affects me is how much work the coaches and players and staff and just the sacrifices that you make as a player, that you just like you said, to be decided by a bad call that they come back and tell you later on was the wrong call, which is fine. Like, you're human, you're not going to make all these perfect calls, but there's got to be a system in place that can quickly, tell if it's a good call or a bad call, and just change it. And you see that more and more now that the league is calling down and saying, hey, like, that they're short of the line, or they're past the line, or that was a catch, and they change it really quickly, which is great to see. But you would think that you could do that more and more, and would be interesting to see. It will be interesting to see how they change. I would imagine that they're working on that. Like I said, I mean, to not have not necessarily young, just like full-time
dedicated people,
that like that's all they're looking at, and they are held accountable for if they're doing a great job, and maybe they get bonuses for doing a great job and making great calls, or maybe
they should be fined. So when you get that letter, the head coach gets like a $50,000, payment or something. Because there are consequences, right? Like you said, I mean, if that was called the other way, that's a different game, and that coach is maybe preparing and to go play another game, and instead he's fired. And I think it's just the inconsistencies, because you watch one game and that everyone's up in arms, like, how could this be called this way? And then you watch the next game and it's a similar situation and it's called the other way. And that's, I think, what's frustrating.
I think we're all looking for consistency. And the one thing about the game, the Buffalo game, there was a lot of contact through that first 3.5, 4 quarters, basically. There's a lot of contact, and they showed numerous plays where the receivers and DBs are getting after it pretty good. And there wasn't a penalty flag thrown. And then all of a sudden you get into overtime, and there's 3 pass interference calls. And 2 of them obviously changed the game completely. And that's not consistency. So what you're really looking for, obviously, is consistency.
All right, so we're gonna wrap up here and let you go. But before we let you go, we always ask our guests at the end of the show, if you didn't work in football, what would you do? What would you have done?
I would have been in some type of sales. I like to talk and probably talk too much, but I would have probably been in some type of sales and maybe got into. I mean, I've done sports my whole life, and I would have probably found my way back into some type of coaching, whether that be high school or who knows where that would have gone. But yeah, definitely something out and about and active rather than being in an office job. I don't think I would have done too well with that.
Yeah. All right.
Well, we have some great weather going on out here in San Diego right now, and in LA where Steffi lives, and you're more than welcome to come out. I'm a member of a nice club. I got a great hotel.
Come play golf.
Play some golf and get the kids. They got a great pool. Kids chase around the pool. We'll get them on the course. Love to have you out here in the warm weather. I know what those Minnesota winters are like, and you go out and have to pour hot water on the lock on the car to get the door open. That's the way you start the morning there in Minneapolis.
I'll have to take you up on that. I'm always down for some golf. So.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Adam, for joining us. We want to say thank you to everyone for watching the podcast and the clips that we've been posting on Instagram. We do have a favor to ask of you. If you can head over to YouTube and hit subscribe, it really helps us to add subscribers. It helps us to continue to make content and episodes. So we really appreciate the support there. And we'll see you on the next one.